Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Salim Akhtar Malik, your host at the Observation Post channel. On this channel, we discuss issues of national and international importance, security matters, and important events from military history. You can interact with me on my channel by giving your views. Transcripts of my videos are available on solicitation at my Twitter address, which is at Salim Akhtar 53. And these are provided gratis, that is, no fee is charged. In this session, I'll be talking to you about the 1971 war. In my previous talks, I had been saying that it was an orchestrated war, orchestrated by certain players in Pakistan, which means that the war, even as the sequence and steps of a dance movement, was pre-rehearsed. It was predetermined. To put it bluntly, there were people in Pakistan holding important positions who had choreographed or planned the surrender of Pakistan Army at Dhaka. How did they do it? It all started in November 1971 when Yahya Khan sent Bhutto at the head of a delegation to China. The purpose of sending the delegation was to ascertain from the Chinese leadership the extent to which they were prepared to help Pakistan in the event of a war between India and Pakistan, a war which was looming large on the horizon. The other members of the delegation were Lieutenant General Gul Hassan Khan, the Chief of General Staff of the Pakistan Army, and Air Marshal Rahim Khan, the Air Chief. Bhutto's name was proposed by Lieutenant General Gul Hassan Khan. So he was also considered as the head of the delegation because of his close links with the Chinese leadership. He had a personal equation also with the Chinese Prime Minister Zhou Enlai. So when they reached China, that is Beijing, they held talks with the Chinese leadership where Bhutto briefed them about the situation, particularly in East Pakistan, and the danger is posed to Pakistan's solidarity. The Chinese leadership, while agreeing with Pakistan or while agreeing with the views of the Pakistani delegation, said that they know that India was spoiling for an attack, particularly in East Pakistan, in order to secede it from the rest of Pakistan. However, they advised Pakistan to find a political solution to the problem, to the crisis, and avoid war as far as possible. And in case war could not be avoided, then at least delay it till the next March when the snows in the Himalayan passes would start thawing, making it possible for the Chinese army to intervene militarily in support of Pakistan. So this was the gist of that meeting, what transpired in that meeting. And thereafter, the Pakistani delegation, after having a private dinner with the Chinese Prime Minister, retired to their hotel. Bhutto excused himself that he was not feeling well and that he had a headache, and thereafter he went to his bedroom. So it left General Gul Hassan and Air Marshal Rahim to discuss the situation. So between these two, they has a detailed discussion and evaluation of what had been discussed during the meeting with the Chinese leadership. Now, all this has been stated, this information that I'm giving you has been stated by the late squadron leader Arshad Sami Khan, who was then ADC to General Yahya Khan. And before that, he had been ADC to President Ayub. And after the 71 war, he was retained as ADC to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto when he became president and Pakistan's first civilian chief martial law administrator. So this all has been written by the late squadron leader in his book. The title of the book is Three Presidents and an Aide. So the long and short of it, General Gul Hassan Khan and Air Marshal Rahim Khan concluded that the war with India was imminent and that during that war, Pakistan army would be defeated because Pakistan was not in a position, the army was not in a position to defend East Pakistan. And most of the talk was done, most of the talking was done by Gul Hassan while Air Marshal Rahim listened to him and occasionally interrupted him to ask questions or to clarify certain points about which he was not clear. So, according to the book written by squadron leader Arshad Sami Khan, General Gul Hassan told Air Marshal Rahim that in the event of a war between India and Pakistan, it was given that Pakistan army would be defeated. In that case, they should not waste their energies to defend and to protect President Yahya Khan. They should rather facilitate a transfer of power to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto once East Pakistan separates from the rest of Pakistan and as a result of the military defeat. When Air Marshal Rahim asked General Gul Hassan as to what they would get out of it, Gul Hassan reportedly told him that Rahim Khan would be retained as the air chief, where he himself would be promoted as the new army chief. So the two, that is Gul Hassan and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, were in cahoots even before the delegation was sent to Beijing is clear from the fact that in September that year, that is in September 1971, the armies of both India and Pakistan had been mobilized and they were deployed along the international border, both in the eastern sector as well as in the western sector. At that time, Pakistan army had a chance and opportunity to preempt the Indian army. In any case, since the birth of Pakistan, it had been a doctrine of the Pakistan army that the defense of East Pakistan lay in West Pakistan. Because East Pakistan, because of certain reasons, because of its peculiar terrain and the fact that it was almost 1,000 miles away from Pakistan, from West Pakistan, which was the center of government, which was the center of power in United Pakistan. It was not defensible. That is, East Pakistan was not defensible. And in case of any threat or any aggression by India against East Pakistan, it would be defended from West Pakistan. So that was the time when Pakistan army should have acted upon its doctrine of defending East Pakistan from West Pakistan. And as I said, there was an opportunity to preempt the Indian army in the western sector. And that opportunity presented itself in an area which was between Samba and Dera Baba Guru Nanak. It was in the Ravi Chenab sector, and the area was to be defended. It was assigned to the Indian I Corps, which was at that time in the hinterland, and had to take possession of its defensive locations on arrival. So in September 1971, I Corps of the Indian Army was not there. And Pakistan Army could have exploited this opportunity to preempt the Indian Army. I'm not going to read out to you an excerpt by an Indian general, Major General Sukhwant Singh. According to the general, I met K.K. Singh, Commander I Corps, near the Thakurpur ferry in the middle of October 1971, when his leading elements had just moved in and the rest of his corps was trickling in at an agonizingly slow pace. He smiled and commented, "Our weakest hour is now. Another 4 days and Yahya would have missed his opportunity." Yahya did exactly that, and by the third week of October, KK was firmly poised in his defensive posture. The Pakistani military historian Major Amin writes, Indian Western Command Commander-in-Chief, General Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western Command, Kenneth Kendall, admitted The fact that all Indian plans to attack Pakistan would have gone to winds had Pakistan attacked in October 1971. Thus, candidates remarked that Yahya Khan had tarried too long and had missed the boat. We come to the war. On 3rd December at 1600 hours, that is at 4 p.m., there was a briefing at the Air Command Center in Rawalpindi, which was attended by General Yahya Khan, his second in command, General Hamid, and in that briefing, squadron leader Arshad Sami Khan, because he was ADC to President Ayub, President Yahya, he was also present. And during the briefing, which was done by Air Marshal Rahim Khan, President Yahya Khan was told that at that very moment, PAF aircraft were on their way to bomb the IAF airfields along the western border. Now, the objectives were Indian airfields, and the mission given to the PAF aircraft was to render the airfields inoperable in the war. The aircraft used for the purpose were the Sabre aircraft, that is F-86 of the PAF. Arshad Sami Khan says that he was surprised because F-86 was an excellent aircraft as far as dogfights, strafing, and rocketing was concerned. For these missions, it was a good aircraft, but it was not fit for carrying out bombing missions because for that purpose it had to climb up to 10,000 feet and thereafter descend at an angle of 45 degrees before delivering its ordnance, its bombs and rockets. And that was the time when the aircraft was most vulnerable to the enemy ground fire, to its ek-ek fire. Suffice it to say that the air raids by Pakistan Air Force on the evening of 3rd December were a failure. They didn't do any significant damage to the Indian airfields, and the raids were a parody of the 1967 Israeli air raids, preemptive air raids against the Egyptian airfields, where the Israeli Air Force destroyed the entire Egyptian Air Force. So that was pre-planned. These important air raids were pre-planned to fail. Now on 4th of December, that is the next day of the war, a Pakistani infantry brigade group comprising 51 infantry brigade with under command 22 cavalry was launched in the Longewala sector to capture the Indian town of Ramgarh. So it was in the Rajasthan area. Now, Longewala is the subject of an Indian blockbuster movie. As a result of the half-hearted intrusion into Indian territory, this operation also failed. Why it failed? Because there was no air cover provided to the attacking armored infantry brigade group. 51 infantry brigade along with 22 cavalry went inside India without any air cover and even without troop carrying vehicles for infantry, that is the TCVs. So in the absence of TCVs, the infantry units commandeered and got hold of civilian tractor trolleys to move inside the Indian territory, and those tractor trolleys got bogged down in sand and had to be left behind. As a result of Indian Air Force strikes, there were 4 Indian Air Force hunters which blunted the entire offensive, entire Pakistani offensive. IAF claims that there was no ground battle at Longewala. It was their show all the way, and that India was saved from humiliation because the 4 hunters that blunted Pakistani thrust entirely by air action. Again, the Longewala operation was planned to fail. This talk was based on the following reference material. The Western Theatre in 1971, a strategic and operational analysis. The article was written by Major Amin, Major A.H. Amin. H. Baweja, The Truth of Courage, published by Tehelka magazine. It was published in 2008. Arshad Sami Khan, The 3 Presidents and an Aide, Life, Power, Politics. It was published by Pentagon Press in 2008. This is all I wanted to say in this video. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.